kutoka milimani, Bungani hadi pwani. Elo inasimama kwa sauti huru,
kwa uadilifu na haki, sisi tuko imara. Kenya mpya kwa matumaini ya dhati.
Kutoka kaskazini, kusini, mashariki na magharibi, tunajivunia Kenya, nchi ya matumaini. Kwa uadilifu na amani, sisi tunaimba kwa kusema a logo for credible, peaceful, free and fair elections.
Tunatoka kwa jamii, vikundi vya kidini na mashinani, sauti za wanyonge na sauti za wenye nguvu.
Hakuna aliyeachwa, sote ni sawa. Elo ni mwangaza wa mabadiliko ya haki. Kutoka kaskazini, kusini, mashariki na magharibi, tunajivunia Kenya, nchi ya matumaini. Kwa uadilifu na amani, sisi tunaimba kwa kusema a logo for credible, peaceful, free and fair elections.
Welcome to the Darubini Ya Uchaguzi Podcast, a podcast that unpacks Kenya's democratic journey and the election journey, one issue at a time. I am your host, Brian Sengeli, and in today's session in the podcast, we'll be diving into a critical topic, which is youth and the ballot question. With the 2027 general election very near, we would like to ask very critical questions and unpack the whole dilemma. Historically, we know that Kenyans have not been registered to vote, despite being so active and radiant online and on the streets. So one thing we know is definitely numbers don't lie. Young people make up to more than 75% of the population, yet they're still very underrepresented in terms of the formal political processes. Many didn't register in the 2022 election that was held, and even few are showing up to vote. But in this same group that is vocal, connected, and organized for change, what exactly is the problem? What's the dissonance? So, today, we're joined by a program officer at Youth Agenda to help us unpack the barriers, solutions, and the role civil society can play to turn this online energy we have into real-world action, starting with voter registration. So I'd like to welcome him to introduce himself and tell us a bit about himself.
Thank you so much, Karen. My name is Sengeli, Brian. I'm in charge of programs at the Youth Agenda. And so, just a little bit of myself. Basically, a champion of good governance and inclusion of youth in political spaces and generally the democratic spheres. And therefore, much of my work has revolved around championing for inclusion of this particular group in civic spaces as well as the electoral processes so that they can be able to exercise their democratic rights.
Thank you very much. I love hearing that you say that with a very big enthusiasm for the governance sector. Doing that what you're championing before as young people is to have critical governance. So I'd just like to dive right into the topic of today, which is youth and the ballot question. So let's start from the fact that we currently know that the online demonstration and also the college of people online, the youth are becoming more louder and clear on issues on the social media platforms such as TikTok, X, and even Instagram, where now they are also bringing it into the physical space. Now they're protesting, they're speaking out, but come voting day, we have a tendency where we see many stay at home or they just don't register in the first place to vote for elections. So why do you think these gaps exist, where there's a dissonance between how we speak out, how we do activism, but we don't show up where the real accountability was played?
Well, first I'd like to begin from the point of a personal story. As with agenda, our mandate involves interacting with the youth direction. And last year, when we were interacting with the youth, we met this group of young people with all political passion you can actually imagine. And none of them have registered as voters. This is just here. When you ask them why is that the case, they will tell you how does it matter, because they feel like it doesn't matter for them to register as voters or even to participate as voters. The same group, we did meet them this year after the Gen Z uprising. And all of them have actually, they are willing to register as voters. Why? Because they feel like they have a civic responsibility. And this has come as an influence from their peers and even the conscious their awakening of the youth across the country. Now, linking it to the youth disconnect, when you look at the reports, there's a report by Afrobarometer that indicates a decline of youth trust in institutions, for instance, IEBC. And majority of them feels like elections doesn't lead any material change for them. And this trend has been witnessed across the region. We saw it in Nigeria in 2024, we saw it in South Africa and also Zimbabwe. So it's not an isolated case for us as a country. But looking at the historical bit of it, you realize that historically, youth have not been part of key decision-making processes, and elections being one of them. This emerges from the historical experience that we have as a country. And just to give a brief of it, as a country post-election, we inherited a country that was coming from an authoritarian state. And this was also perpetrated by the political elites who took over. Yes. Most of the leadership was taken over by the elders, from the state to the community level. And even the late President Kenyatta emphasized on their rule or the respect for seniority politics. And therefore, this perpetuated that particular concept of gerontocracy ruled by the elders. And therefore, youth were only considered as, they were only considered during demos, during my Mau. That's when the energy was harnessed. So basically, as mobilizers, or basically followers, not even key decision makers. So this has actually affected the way we have been governed as a country. And so, because of that particular history, we are slowly recovering from that. And in 2010, our constitution, our progressive constitution, introduced a very key component, Article 55, that guarantee participation of youth in political affairs. And that's why different key stakeholders are pushing for their participation. They are making a lot of noise nowadays online because they feel like they are more heard through hashtags than through the ballot. And so that digital disillusionment is one of the reasons why there's that disconnect between their activeness in politics and also their participation during the voting day. But we should also ask ourselves whether youth are making a lot of noise, yes, but are they being heard? I mean, they are being heard, but are they being listened to? That actually guides the conversation, because why should they pay attention to the institutions that have never delivered? When you look at IEBC and its history, majority of the people will tell you it has never delivered any credible election, and therefore why should it matter today?
Interesting. I like the fact that you said that youth are talking, but are they being heard? They are being seen, but they're not being heard.
They're being heard, but are they being listened to?
Thank you very much for that clarification. So earlier on, when you were putting the pros and cons, you say that you have also been having discussions with young people. So now just to tell you achieve agenda, I would like to talk about how you have been involved in civic education and mobilization. So could you perhaps tell us what models that you think have worked well in engaging them, and any past stories or wins from the past election? Thank you.
So as an organization, we have been involved in mobilizing young people to participate in or to exercise their civic duty. And I'll give an example. In 2017, this is just recent examples. In 2017, we had around 2 projects that involved mobilizing young people to take part in the political process or the electoral process, both as candidates and also as voters. One of these was a campaign called Vote Gather. This campaign, its aim was to ensure that we capacity build young ladies, young women, to be able to participate both as candidates and also as voters. And this campaign yielded good results because we were looking at an increase of around 30% participation of young women in the political spaces. There was another project as well that we did that was geared around increasing participation of women in the electoral processes. And when you look at this project, the objective was mostly to increase the participation of young women in the electoral processes as candidates, because we've seen a major number of women who show interest to participate as candidates, especially. In 2022, we majorly worked under the IEBC coordinating committees to rally youth across the country to still take part in the elections as both as candidates and also both as voters. And other part is that as being members of the National Republic of Kenya, we have also been critically involved in terms of mobilizing young people to also take part in the electoral processes as election observers. And this creates that aspect of ownership in the elections. And it has been a successful model that we want or would like to scale up come 2027 general elections. And we are looking at possible ways on how we can also work together with IEBC and also other political or electoral actors to bring on board young people to be major drivers of these particular processes. We've seen this, we've seen other countries as well adopt other innovative models. For instance, when you look at a country like Senegal, they were embedding civic education in music. So they use DJ drops, concerts as well, just to rally young people to participate in the electoral processes. In the countries like US as well, they did leverage Gen Z-led online mobilization versus the other offline structure of mobilization. They call it activism, from activism to the ballot, I think, just to rally the first-time voters. In Uganda as well, we saw, during the last election, we saw political, Bobby Wine's People's Power, a slogan that attracted many young people who are first-time voters to participate in the elections. So it's for instance, in Senegal, if it took only a DJ and a mic to change a government, because an incumbent was actually defeated, why can't it happen in Kenya? We just need to find innovative ways that we can adopt. For instance, the IEBC need to embrace communicating through channels that are accessible to young people. Nowadays, young people are online. And therefore, if they could harness that particular aspect and make it cool and not boring, any youth would register as voters. If we make it simple and make it, make it cooler, like for young people, majority of them are going to register. Another model I think they can also utilize is they can embed voter registration in cultural events. For instance, we have a lot of concerts in Kenya. We have a lot of sport activities in Kenya. Why can't IBC put their desks in those events and make it and coordinate with the organizers of those events so that anyone who comes to the event is mandatory that have you registered as a voter for you to attend this? So it becomes easy for young people to, and even convenient for them to go and register. So it's up to them to be innovative in a way. They can work with civil society, they can work with different actors. They can also partner with influencers. Nowadays, influencer marketing is a big thing. South Africa adopted that. South Africa actually, the Independent Electoral Commission partnered with a certain influencer, forgetting his name.
Sorry?
Just to rally young people to register as voters. So it is critical at the moment that we need to engage as a country so that we can bring on board young people.
Interesting. I'm actually very shocked that it happened. It did quite catch it in the South African general election. But I love the fact that you're talking about how we can engage and mobilize people to register and vote in elections in a very systematic and creative ways. Yeah, so I think as much as we are talking about mobilizing people in a creative way, ahead of this 2027 election, what do you think is a way that we can also expand on when it comes to building a culture of participation, which starts way years before the election? How do you build that mindset now?
There is a way we can build a mindset, because when you speak of elections, is just a one-day. It's not a one-day ritual. It is a lifestyle of accountability, and voting or voter registration is just step one. And therefore, young people need to understand that they have that civic duty to go and vote, or register as voters and go and vote. How we can incorporate this culture is through sustained efforts. And this shouldn't be those episodic events that we see, the last hour initiative that we usually adopt. Kenya is currently adopting that system of embedding civic education and voter education or civic education in the curriculum. We need to scale it up. Other countries like Bhutan, the country called Bhutan, that has established what we call, I'm forgetting the number, but it has embedded civic education in their curriculum from the primary school level. It has also created these mock parliaments from the primary school level. So young people grow up normalizing participating in political affairs. This is a culture that we need to adopt as a country. Civil society need to work closely with electoral bodies just to ensure that we streamline civic and voter education. Because there are people who has that challenges of being reached by the voter education. So we need sustained efforts. For instance, currently we have many young people mobilizing online. Mm-hmm. Have we found ways on how to engage them on these platforms? We need to see these institutions leveraging social media in terms of engaging them in even competitions online on matters pertaining to elections and voter education and so on and so forth. Mm. So it's a matter of leveraging the energy of the day. Mm. Youth are having issues at the moment that they are channeling or they're expressing in regards to the current government. Mm. But one thing is that you see, you can influence perspectives or influence perceptions. But again, they need structured platforms and also institutional allies for them to effectively influence any policy that is relevant to either elections or any decision. And so it's a matter of coordinated effort from different partners.
Mm-hmm. I love that a lot. Now, I love the fact that you're talking about how no one has really harvested the online energy that young people have. So, just to write them your momentum on that, as we shift the gears now into the digital space, we know that disinformation is already shaping like the early political debates. That's one, civic education, because now people aren't able to differentiate like what's real from what's fake from what's perpetuated. So fake news, propagandas, and what's so from all that, what kind of impact are you seeing in youth engagement, and how can you counter it?
When you look at the past elections, and just begin with 2017 elections, that's where we saw widespread effects of disinformation. And it not only affected our elections in Kenya, but also in other countries. We saw it happen in America. We saw it happen also in other countries like Nigeria as well. And therefore, it's something that needs to be keenly looked into. Social media is something that is being used by the majority of the young people. And the issue of mis and disinformation, when you look at the demographic of the youth, they are both perpetrators and they are also victims most of the time. And so it is something that we need to critically investigate and take necessary actions earlier. First, its effects during the 2022 general election, we saw a lot of cyberbullying, we saw a lot of AI-generated content, we saw a lot of online harassment, and this affected even participation of different groups, even from the youth demographic. Young women were bullied online. A lot of them were subjected to online harassment. And this discourages a lot of young people to participate in elections. You see, fake news or misinformation, it is like junk food to your brain. It is very tasty at the moment, but later on, it's very toxic. And therefore, the issue of technology is something that we can't wish away. It is something that we need to find ways on how we are going to live with it in a manner that protects and promotes inclusion. And therefore, I would like to say that as a currency to our democracy, information is the most important tool that the youth can use to influence policy and also be able to participate in the electoral processes. And therefore, even as they seek this information, they should be cognizant of missing and disinformation. Once they receive that information, they should stop, they should verify it, so that whatever they are sharing, whether they have received it or created it, it should be something that is a truth. When you look at the youth, they are very creative. They make dances, memes. They make content that goes viral. Why can they make the truth? Or why can they make a viral truth? It is very possible.
Just on that, do you think it's a matter of interest when it comes to sustainable content, or do you think it's a matter of that's not probably the type of content that they want to engage with?
It is not a matter of interest because when you look at it in a manner or from the perspective of the youth mostly they look at or they watch or they interact mostly with content that they like. And therefore, if different partners or electoral partners or stakeholders could invite these young people on the table and engage them on ways on how they are going to do civic education in a creative manner, they can still give them ways on how they can engage with it. Civic education doesn't have to be lectures. They can do it in art form, they can do it in music. It can be done in various ways that are innovative, that is likable, and that resonates with the young people.
Okay. I understand that part. Because I think that we were just talking about the same point when it comes to it's not really that people lack interest, it's the form in which the content is being delivered.
Yes.
Just the way you're saying that you might need to look and revisit how we churn out the content when it comes to civic education. How do you want people to receive it? We can do platforms, we can do musicals, we can do music. Yeah. So with that in mind, I like the fact that we spoke about identity and how we can make the youth, often the ones who are trying to register, to not feel like it's more of a distance. And you gave us a couple of ways that we can be able to engage the young people to be able to participate into these electoral processes in a manner that is meaningful to give us meaningful results. So now, there's a very important point that you talked about when it came to trusting institutional in regards to the report that you had read from Afrobarometer. We know that we have institutions that we can hold accountable. If we do have that, why is it that it's very hard for people probably to trust these institutions? Would you mind talking about that issue?
It's hard to trust these institutions because they have never delivered. And it's because it's evident that most of these institutions have been used as a state extension. They have been allegedly been taken as tools that the state has been using to muzzle the interests of the people. For instance, when I began, I pointed to the Afrobarometer report 2017-2022. When you look at the pre-election assessment report from the IEBC, it indicates that more than 8.8 million youth did not vote or register as voters. When you look at the post-assessment report by IEBC, for only 39% of registered voters who are youth participated in the elections. That only indicates that if the 8.8, which is a significant constituency, did vote or had their candidate, or did register and had their candidate, it means that they could have chosen a president by them. And so when it comes to trusting institutions, it also demands that these institutions deliver as expected by the people. But also, the question that we should be asking ourselves is it that we are expecting so much from them that we are overlooking these other structural issues. For instance, at the moment, a lot of people are bashing not ESCC. These are the commission, what do you call it? NCIC. There's a lot of hate speech from politicians, but the commission is silent. There are a lot of people calling for its disbandment. National cohesion, yes. There are a lot of people that are feeling like the commission has failed to deliver on its mandate. But the question that we should be asking ourselves is it that we are expecting too much of it? Are there any structural issues that the commission is facing that we are not aware of? So there are so many other questions that we should be asking ourselves, even as we doubt these institutions. An institution like IEBC, we expect that it carries out continuous voter education, voter and civic education. But one of the biggest challenges that this commission has faced is underfunding. Currently, the IEBC fund is not operational. The amount of funding it's receiving is minimal and can't sustain it. Is it that we are overlooking some of these challenges?
I love that you asked the critical questions, as well as you also gave us solutions on how to look at this situation in a two-way manner, where as much as possible, as we try to hold these institutions accountable, and also look what are we also seeing. Is there any corner that we might probably be in that is not allowing us to see the full scope?
Yes.
So I would want to know, given that you've given us all these solutions and alternative way on how we can probably take charge when it comes to the IEBC political party. So I'd like to know, what do you think the media as well can do better? And probably one or two points on how also the political parties can do better, and how the youth can also use this momentum to take charge of the moment and use the legal knowledge that we have to kind of use that as a means for accountability.
Well, just to begin with, media plays a very critical role in this process because it's because of media that we do receive instant feedback, we do share important information to populations in different areas. But as there's a philosopher who says media is also evil. A lot of people nowadays are moving away from the mainstream media because they feel like it is also a tool that the state is using to shape narratives. And when it becomes subject to the state, then it becomes an enemy of the people because it is not for people. Therefore, what the media will do is, one, there's a lot of young people who are doing great things in terms of advancing civic education. There are those who are doing a lot in terms of advancing participation of young people in the electoral and political processes. These people have not been given airtime just to showcase the good things that they are doing. A lot of mainstream media nowadays, you find that they are giving disestablished political elites a lot of airtime as compared to the airtime the youth are being given. Even when you look at during campaigns, majority of young people are not given the airtime, and especially young ladies. We have people with disabilities under the youth category. We have youth from minorities and marginalized communities. Are they being given same airtime that these other population are being given? And so if they're not being given a lot of airtime and to be seen and be heard by the population, there's a lot of bad narratives about them that they may not find that opportunity to be back. And second, I think that's why actually the youth are using alternative media sources. A lot of this nowadays, a lot of podcasts, a lot of online engagement forums that youth are using as a platform to do what? To drive their agenda, to speak out, and also to be able to advance different issues that pertain to them. Another thing that media can do is just partner with civil society and other actors. When you look at Mzalendo Trust, they are doing a lot of amazing work in terms of showcasing what the parliament, different MPs are doing, using their website. You go there, you find a lot of information that is palatable to the youth. And therefore, it is a tool that can be adopted and upscaled by different actors so that we can also give an opportunity to young people. What was the other question?
So
It was media.
just media and political parties.
Political parties also plays a key role in our democracy because we live in a representative democracy. And therefore, political parties are at the center of it all. That's why we are urging young people to be part of a political party, because that's how they can be able to influence any political decisions in a structured manner. Even though political parties nowadays have failed the young people, but we need reforms in these political parties.
Yes.
We need critical reforms. One, political parties, they do have what we call youth wings. But these youth wings, they don't have any power to influence decisions in the political parties.
Oh, yeah.
These youth wings are only used as a tokenism for youth. Youth are being involved in decisions, but they are not allowed to influence any important decisions. We have these meetings, but they are not either funded or they are unfunded. And therefore, if you don't have the financial clout, you cannot roll out any programs that empower young people or capacity build young people to participate in the political affairs of the country. And they just remain to be there as flower girls or just to remain there aesthetically to make these political parties to look beautiful and all inclusive. But at the end of it all, youth are just co-opted as elements of inclusion, but they are not making any difference. And so, historically, I believe it's the legacy of YK92. It's emphasized on loyalty over merit, and this legacy has run all through to the present, where it has only political parties have been used as negotiation tools for individuals. It is not any ideological structure that any youth can use to influence policy. So it becomes difficult for young people to associate themselves with that particular party. Because at the end of it all, it is not going to deliver anything for them.
Yeah. I think I love the fact that you talked about activism and how you sometimes can use both sides as flower girls or flower boys, respectively, to the genders. So, how do you think youth can then now take charge of this moment to change all that and make the momentum we have right now?
One, youth need to take charge of the political affairs of the present. It is usually said that a child who washes his hands dies with the king. So we shouldn't look at the history of marginalization. Youth just need to go out there and demand these political parties demand what is rightfully theirs. It is up to the youth to ensure that they register as voters. It is up to the youth to ensure that they express their political rights. Because there's someone who said that youth need to go out there. If you're having a problem, you go to hunt. You will go hunting. If you kill an elephant, all your problems are gone because you have nothing. If an elephant kills you, all your problems are gone as well because you are not there. So it's up to them to go hunting. They should demand accountability of the leaders. They should go out and vote in leaders that they feel they are going to deliver for them. They need to ensure that they continue innovatively engaging in civic and political education, influencing their peers. Because nowadays, the human nature is that people mostly, they trust peers mostly more than they trust any government notice that we find out there. So if their peers are doing things that could influence them, they are most likely going to follow it. So if we are doing a lot of political and civic education, we are going that most of the people are going to develop interest. Nowadays, there's a lot of interest in young people to participate in accountability calls, to participate in political matters. So it's up to us as young people to ensure that we take charge of today. The state will say that, of course, we are tomorrow leaders. But the moment we demand that we are leading today, they close that door. So democracy is not inherited, it's co-created. So it's up to us to invite ourselves on the table if we are not invited. We've seen a lot of changes that have come as a result of youth mobilization. That's just one of the ways on how we can sustain this. We need to and also ensure that we put in place structures that can help us engage with different stakeholders, and also be able to have institutional allies, because these are individuals and people who are going to help us actualize our vision as young people that we are calling or ranting already.
I love that. So I want to hear, as we close the podcast, what is probably your last sentence to just wrap up this whole conversation?
My last word will be like this. If you do fail to register as a voter and go out to vote, someone else will do it for you. And we'll be electing someone who doesn't live like you, who doesn't think like you, and who doesn't care like you do. And therefore, what will you tell your younger siblings, your neighbors, your friends, your kids in 2027? That you chose silence, or you chose to register as a voter and went out to vote the right candidate.
Thank you very much, Brian, for this conversation. I feel like he has really given justice to the word youth agenda, which is his organization. He has really agendaed this youth conversation. So, to our listeners, here's my bottom line. Registering to vote is not just a civic duty, it's your power, it's your mantra. So when you say you want to see electoral reforms, you want to see political reforms, remember, you cannot dictate how the process is if you are not part of the cutting of the cake. Cut your cake, transfer the online energy to elections and vote. For me, that is the advice I'm giving to other young people who are like me. So let's stop scrolling and aligning to building when it comes to our civic duty. The ballot which we are casting is not just a piece of paper, it's our loudest voice in a space where we have chosen representation of democracy. You'll be listening to the Darubini Ya Uchaguzi Podcast, and if you like this episode, please like, share with a friend, and let's get this conversation moving. As I said, I am your host, Karen Mambui. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged. Thanks.
Kutoka milimani, bungani hadi pwani, Elo inasimama kwa sauti huru.
Kwa uadilifu na haki, sisi tuko imara. Kenya mpya kwa matumaini ya dhati.
Kutoka kaskazini, kusini, mashariki na magharibi, tunajivunia Kenya, nchi ya matumaini. Kwa uadilifu na amani, sisi tunaimba kwa kusema Elo for credible, peaceful, free and fair elections.
Tunatoka kwa jamii, vikundi